Have you ever wondered why innocent women and sometimes men were accused of witchcraft and executed in the Middle Ages? In a time steeped in superstition and fear, witch hunting became a chilling reality. Rooted in social unrest and cultural shifts, it was a dark manifestation of society's struggle to explain the unexplainable. This grim era saw countless lives lost to the hysteria of witchcraft accusations. So let's delve into the grim history of witch hunting and understand its origins. Witch hunting didn't just appear out of nowhere. It has a dark and complex history. Its roots can be traced back to the Middle Ages in Europe, a time when society was steeped in superstition and fear of the supernatural. The unknown was a terrifying concept, and anything out of the ordinary was often attributed to malevolent forces. In the midst of this fear-fueled climate, the church played a crucial role. To maintain order and control, the church propagated the belief that witches were servants of the devil, using magic to sow chaos and destruction. This narrative was not only accepted, but it was also embraced and fervently enforced. The church's influence was vast and pervasive, and their words held the weight of absolute truth. And so, through a potent blend of societal fear and religious influence, witch hunting was born. Thus, the stage was set for what would become one of the darkest periods in human history. As the Middle Ages progressed, so did the paranoia and fear of witches. The height of this hysteria is often pinpointed between the 15th and 17th centuries, a dark period in history where suspicion and terror ran rampant. This era was marked by a surge in witch trials, proceedings steeped in superstition and dread. These were not simple court cases, they were spectacles of fear and manipulation, where accusations were often based on hearsay and conjecture, rather than concrete evidence. At the heart of these trials was the Malleus Maleficarum, a guide for identifying, interrogating, and prosecuting witches. It was written by Heinrich Kramer, a German Catholic clergyman, and was widely circulated during this period. The Malleus Maleficarum essentially laid the groundwork for the witch hunts, legitimizing the fear of witches and encouraging their prosecution. The infamous witch trials weren't confined to a specific region. They swept across Europe and even reached the New World. One of the most notorious instances was the Salem witch trials in Massachusetts, where 20 people were executed on accusations of witchcraft. These trials were more than just a hunt for witches. They were a reflection of the societal tensions of the time. They highlighted the fear of the unknown, the need for control, and the consequences of mass hysteria. Women in particular bore the brunt of these fears. They were often singled out, their independence and unconventional behaviors seen as a threat to societal norms, and therefore, a sign of witchcraft. The impact of these trials was profound and far-reaching. They resulted in the loss of countless lives, torn apart communities, and left a lasting mark on society. The legacy of the witch trials serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of fear and the misuse of power. In essence, the witch trials were less about hunting actual witches, and more about maintaining societal control. They were a manifestation of the collective fear of the unknown and the lengths to which society would go to uphold its norms and values. The witch trials were a manifestation of societal fear and control, often leading to tragic consequences. As quickly as it peaked, the era of witch hunting began to decline. Now imagine, if you will, a pendulum swinging. The momentum that had once carried witch hunts to their zenith was now pushing in the opposite direction. The Age of Enlightenment was dawning, and with it, a new era of reason and skepticism. Let's delve into this fascinating period. As the 17th century rolled on, a cultural and intellectual movement known as the Enlightenment began to take hold. This period was characterized by a profound faith in the power of human reason. The Enlightenment thinkers, or philosophes as they were known, questioned everything, from the nature of the universe to the systems of government. In this new era, the belief in witches and the supernatural started to lose its grip on society. The philosophes' emphasis on empirical evidence and logical reasoning made it increasingly difficult to justify the existence of witches. Many began to argue that witch hunts were not only irrational but also inhumane. Prominent figures like Friedrich Spee, a German Jesuit priest, became vocal critics of witch trials. He argued that confessions obtained under torture were not reliable, and this skepticism started to spread. The tide was turning against witch hunting. The role of skeptics in society was pivotal during this time. Skeptics questioned the validity of witch trials and brought attention to the lack of concrete evidence. This skepticism was not limited to just a few individuals, but was a widespread phenomenon. As skepticism grew, so too did the legal reforms. courts started demanding more concrete evidence, and the number of witch trials began to dwindle. It's important to note, however, that this decline was gradual. It took several decades, even centuries, for witch hunting to completely die out. The end of witch hunting did not mean the end of superstition, but it did mark a significant shift in societal attitudes. The Age of Enlightenment ushered in a new era of rational thought and skepticism, changing the course of history forever. Even though superstitions lingered, society was no longer willing to accept them without question. And so, the once feared witch hunts came to an end. Looking back at the history of witch hunting, it's a sobering reminder of the power of fear and superstition. This grim chapter in our collective past, fraught with misunderstanding and prejudice, reveals much about the human condition itself. It shows us how fear can cloud our judgment and how superstition can lead us astray. But this reflection isn't meant to merely dwell on the darkness of the past, instead it serves to illuminate our path forward. It's vital to recognize that these episodes of history were not inevitable but the product of a society that lacked critical thinking and skepticism. It's a stark reminder of the dangers of unchallenged beliefs, and the importance of questioning, of doubting, and of seeking evidence. Our journey through the Middle Ages witch-hunting era offers us valuable lessons. It teaches us that fear, when left unchecked, can lead to horrifying consequences. It underscores the importance of skepticism in the face of unfounded claims and the value of reason over superstition. In a world that's ever more complex and interconnected, these lessons are more pertinent than ever. We must strive to foster a society that values critical thinking, cherishes evidence-based beliefs, and encourages open-minded inquiry. Though the era of witch hunting is long past, its lessons remain as relevant as ever.